What up, bro?
What's going on, dog?
So, I'm not 100% positive, but I think the Twitter thing is working.
Hey, I could always check.
I really don't know.
What is it? Is it going from my Twitter?
It is.
Might
So,
be.
this is the first time we've tried to go live from Twitter, which apparently has live video integration. Honestly, have no idea if it's working because technology's hard.
Yeah, and I do apologize for my terrible camera quality. And if it doesn't sound that great, I've got my computer set up, moved to my new house, but I'm in the basement. That's where my office is at this new house, and the Wi-Fi does not reach well down here. So for some reason, it wouldn't reach on my desktop, but my laptop's picking it up. So I'm just going off that, using the laptop and my little travel monitor.
Sounds like the most Alabama thing ever.
Yeah.
What's up, James?
What's going on, James?
All right, so same old stuff this week for the most part, right? Trade recap, talk about the trades we took, trades we have on, stuff like that. A little bit of trade the pool talk. Finally created an account. Finally. And next week, when we do this, we're going to talk about edge erosion. Because you and I have had some debates, mano y mano, about edge erosion.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that next week. So it'll be a little different next week. But this week, tried and true, recaps, etc. So I know you have your INBS chart because that was the hot chick of the day. It's the one that burned everybody pretty much long and short for the most part. That ticker sucked.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I
It
lost
was like
money.
at first in the morning, when I took it, I'll
I figured we could start with that one because that's the one that's probably on everybody's mind that everybody traded. I mean,
yeah,
some people
man.
made
I
money
mean,
on it, but you know,
pretty
that's a tough
much.
one. That ticker, God, it sucked. You know, listen, just I don't typically trade earnings winners, and I know before somebody jumps down my throat, I know it was an unaudited earnings, so they were probably complete shit and lies and all that. I get it, but despite that, I still typically just avoid earning winners in general, and like this just again reconfirms my bias for my hatred for earnings winners. They suck. I hate them. Shorting them. I hate shorting them. Anyway.
Dude, I shouldn't have taken as much size as I did on this because I had a home run trade on
I know.
one of my low volume setups that I'd rather. I'm actually swinging a few shares of it, which is something I don't do. But this week I've had a few people in my ear, and I've gotten to where just to on this one I'm just swinging like 75 shares. I'm just doing it just to do it. And then I had another one that I swung yesterday with a couple hundred shares. Actually two. Like I said, I'd rather not share. Just they're really low volume. It's just that kind of goes along with the edge erosion thing, which I'm not even big on. But that could possibly. I mean, if you're taking a setup and you're a 16th or an eighth of the volume, I mean, there's some real potential to get in a bad situation, right?
Oh, for sure.
But anyway, INBS, yeah, earnings winner, and then the news was with the whatever it was. I just scanned over it. I read stuff, but I don't.
I know most of y'all don't because I put that in our room, right? I was like, earnings winner. And Mike was like, oh, for real? So I know most people in the room don't read the news, and that's fine. I'm not saying I digest every single piece of news, but I just looked at the headlines, saw it was an earnings winner, dove in a little bit just to see the results, and they were posting insane percent gains. Again, all unaudited, but I typically avoid earnings winners and avoid cancer news. My
Yeah,
rule wrote down is those two things, and I broke that rule and shorted it anyway.
and see that's my thing is like with I'm usually more out to looking just like I just want to know if it has news. You know what I mean? Like I've kind of picked up on the cancer news thing from you that I might avoid that, but if it has news, I just would rather know if something has news or not. It's more how what I'm looking for. I don't dig too deep into the news, you know. But
Well, I will say my chart and your chart look the same, except for your cover off of 4. I didn't have that. My first shorts were where your shorts were. Yeah, I didn't have a cover there. My first shorts were where your shorts were, because I don't have my chart for this. But my short was where your first short was. However, my first cover was where you re-shorted it again. And then I re-hit like on that push to 550. And then I felt good about it. And I could have covered around 430 or so for break even. I could have been break even on this ticker, basically. It could have been a wash trade. And when it set that lower high, you know, it didn't even make it back down to 4 on that fade. And then it's pushing off of like 4.25. I'm like, man, I probably should just discretionarily exit. And I didn't. And then it slowly crept its way back up above VWAP. Then it's cruising around 5. And then at that point, you and I were talking about it. We're like, now we're in it. Now we're risking a new high a day. And we just got to let it play out, despite the fact that it rode VWAP, you know, lower high, lower high, lower high, started consolidating above V. Like all the signs were there that this was going to happen. But we let it ride and, you know, we took a loss.
yeah, and I got slipped pretty hard on my stop there.
That was a nasty skip candle.
Oh yeah, dude. I had my stop 1 cent above high of day. That's what I usually. I mean, if I'm risking high of day, that's usually what I do. Maybe that's not the best way to do it. I wasn't even watching it at this point because that's like I said in the room and stuff. I was like, man, I'm sure everybody's looking at this like dumbass. Like it was so when they consolidate like that around VWAP and the EMAs are catching up. And, like I took an. Let me see. I have another picture. Hang on.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I mean,
let me reshare this.
yeah, I'd say after what 10:30, 11 o'clock, we knew. Well, we didn't know. We never know. You never really know exactly what a stock is going to do. You have data to help point you in the direction of what it might do. But after about 10, 11 o'clock, we had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen. And I think we had already cemented in our head that we were going to take a loss. So,
yeah, I didn't really think I was going to get skipped that hard, but
yeah, that's tough on the slippage. I think that's where some of the system bros systems look real good on paper, and then these are the type of things that you don't account for.
yeah, I mean, because like I said earlier, I had another trade that was like a home run, and it because of this, I'm red on the day, pretty decently red actually. Like I lost more than I was planning on. I mean, that was like I want to say it was like nearly 40 cents more per share that I lost.
Oh, on that slippage.
Yeah. I mean, it nearly put me at the top of that. My average is down here.
Yeah, I got out a little bit lower than you, but then when I first got, I was like, damn, we covered the top. I say fortunately, I mean, fortunately for us, we didn't cover the exact top because it did go higher. But this thing was just relentless.
Yeah, man, it really kind of sucked. And I could see it going higher now that it's doing this deal right here, you know. I just screenshot this a minute ago. Yeah, I mean, I was really happy with my entries. It worked out good that I didn't cover into that. You know, because I took a good bit off here just because I was like, man, that did just die quick. And there's been some of those days where it's like you'll do that and then it round trips, so you never really know. Um,
This was yeah, it was well, and one thing and I'm not gonna go into too much detail on this, but I will say just via social media and through a couple outlets, you can get some good insight on if there are some pretty big rooms that are long on this stuff. And today there were some big rooms that were long on this, right off of four, and there's some pretty nice volume that comes in at that point. That I think does make it tougher too, especially because what was this thing's float? Like 600K?
was it that
Sub
small?
mil. It was sub mil, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I feel like it's a sub mil float.
I thought it was like 1.4.
I could be wrong. I don't know. Well, it depends where you look. I always use FlashSec for like all that type of stuff.
I've got 1.4.
Really? On what? What are you using for that? Just curious.
I look at FlashSec and I look at Webull.
So FlashSec for me's got 0.7.
I mean, and I know there's a lot of hate around Webull, but man, I mean, I like it. I like the charts, and I don't trade off there, but I mean, think about it. Like a lot of the YOLO or gambling, I mean, that's what they're looking at too, I'm sure. So, I mean, it helps to be in their mind.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say too. I haven't talked much about Trade the Pool because I haven't been using it. Their mobile app is better. Look, I love DOS. I'll never trade probably off of DOS unless I'm either forced to or just something better comes along. I don't like DOS mobile app. It's not my favorite.
Dude, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, in Thinkorswim's mobile app, not a fan. Even Schwab's basic mobile, I'm just not a fan of any of those. I don't have Webull. I know you love Webull, but what I was gonna say is Trade the Pool's mobile app is actually really good. It's
Yeah,
quick,
dude, their mobile
it's
app is
easy.
solid.
Yeah, their charts are easy to. It's good. It's way better than any of my other mobile apps I have. Like I said, I have DOS mobile in case of an oh shit moment. I need to cover off my phone or whatever, but I don't like it. Don't like it at all. And I try to use that team viewer thing that our boy Zoo put us on, but that can be challenging too when you have multiple monitors to like move. Anyway, whatever.
Dude, team viewer on the
INBS.
phone is kind of just like doesn't really. I don't know. It's not my favorite. It's better just if you're like away from your desktop, get on a laptop or something. Something happened with Craig. Well, anyway. Oh. Holler at him real quick.
Can you hear?
Hey, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know what happened to my camera. It just like quit working.
Oh, man. I know how that is.
I don't know what's happening with my stuff.
Hey, thanks, brother. I'm glad you like it. We're having some technical difficulties right now.
I've never had my camera just go out on me.
I have.
Oh, there we go. I don't know. Like, ever since our little winter storm last week or week before, like, our power, man, it's been wonky. Whole neighborhood. I don't know.
Hey, I feel you.
INBS, it sucked. The only chart I have to show with actual executions, and I said this in the room, I didn't get any sort of significant size on this ticker, and I'll share why, but this is that MINM. So I did hit pre-market right around that level that I talked about in the room. You know, basically risking a firm of 8, never hit. But I didn't expect this huge drop before open. What I was hoping would happen is it would open closer to the 750 range and push back up to that level for me to like add full size into. Um, but it didn't, and I didn't. Of course, hindsight, right? Like I thought about adding at 750 to get size on. I was like, no, I just need to wait at least until it gets back to my first, my that first entry area, 770. Never made it. So my size was basically irrelevant. So this is a cool looking chart, but zero size on it. So it sucks.
Well,
It looks cool, but yeah, man.
hey, it is what it is. That's a good question. I mean,
I
I,
personally think it has been for years.
yeah, I mean,
Like
obviously, I
all
guess
these fancy algos, whatever you want to say, that have hedge funds have been using that stuff for decades, in my opinion. And that's AI, algo based, whatever. But as far as from a retail perspective, I think it's going to infiltrate retail to some extent. There's a tool already out there that what Short Bear and Ghost Shock. I don't know how to ever say his name, but they're working on that AI tool to help with filings and all that. Have you seen that?
no, I haven't seen that yet. I might have seen it. They
It's
shared
basically
something.
like Flash Sec, but with steroids injected via AI to help pinpoint certain things. And I don't know, I've never used it. I think they're doing like a closed beta, but it's AI based, and AI is the new buzzword. I'm sure it's going to continually, yeah. I guess the short way of saying that is hell yeah. Oh shit. Sorry. He's on Twitter. It is working.
Awesome, awesome. Oh yeah, yeah, I see that now. Perfect.
It's the first time ever trying this on Twitter. So Ghost Shock. Yes.
Yeah.
Him and Short Bear. And other people. I'm probably leaving people off that are working on that, but it's AI based and it's filings based and it uses AI. I don't really know how. I don't. It's not my area of expertise, but yes, I think it's going to impact
Not
trading
mine.
even on a retail level.
Um, yeah, I'm sure it will. But it's like I don't
Um,
know how fast it will, or if it's really even going to be. I mean, stuff's always changing. Um, you're always having to adapt. Uh,
yeah, and
but
the
I mean, I feel like small cap short selling is always. I mean, I don't see why it would go away.
No, I don't see it going away. I mean, it's a very different market than what it was 2 years ago or 4 years ago or whatever. There's just not as much liquidity. Things have slowed down. That's why we want to talk about edge erosion because liquidity has disappeared to some extent. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's ever going to go away. And sometimes I just can't wrap my mind. Of course, I got a small brain, but wrapping my mind around like how AI infiltrates the small cap market when it's so manipulated. Um, and it is manipulated, but that's why we trade it because it is manipulated and we're trading market inefficiencies. We know the game with these. Of course, timing is everything, but we know the end game. Um, but I will say, small cap aside, I know I've talked a lot about AMD and a lot about Nvidia, and I'm not going to go too far on a tangent today, but this is beautiful. I mean, look at
Yeah,
this.
it's pretty ridiculous, man.
The range on this thing is crazy. And I mean, it just keeps going. Like Meta and Amazon had killer earnings yesterday, which is propelling the markets, which is just making Nvidia, I guess, go even higher, continuing to hit more all-time highs right at 666, mind you. Um, but then you
Right.
see after hours, like it's creeping back up again. Like I wouldn't doubt this thing gaps up and just continue. It's just burning shorts at every single corner, and I'm loving it, and I'm never selling.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just hang on to it, man.
I'm never selling. AMD, I have a chart of that too. What it not as good as Nvidia. I'm it climbed its ass back up, but it just wasn't quite as strong. It closed great.
What's going on? How you doing, Lewis?
I
Good
want to
to see
get Lewis on here one day to talk to him because his trading style is very different than most in our room, ours or others. And I respect that and it's working for him. I want to talk to Lewis.
Yeah, I know. I know we had talked about having him on before. It's just our schedules haven't lined up. Uh,
Yeah, so this was AMD, right? Still following the Nvidia at open, but it had the dip down to 174. Fortunately, it reclaimed, but that dip was pretty significant. Had me a little scared. So I hold more AMD from a dollar exposure than I do Nvidia, but that's also because when I bought those two, obviously AMD is far cheaper. AMD is far cheaper than Nvidia. I like Nvidia more. I will never not use an Nvidia graphics card. I love Nvidia. I think they're whatever. But anyway, I couldn't afford to buy a ton of Nvidia because, stock is super crazy expensive. But yeah, these two, like, holy shit, dude, they just keep going. So I'm just gonna ride that gravy train as long as I can ride it.
you might as well, man. I mean, it's pretty good.
And I've said multiple times on this show, I've said multiple times to you, I've said multiple times in our room, I am 100% lucky. Like, I plan to quit trading every year around the end of November, Thanksgiving, between holidays, we're traveling, kids are out of school, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't want to just let my money sit. So I was like, all right, Nvidia, AMD, the hottest stocks, especially Nvidia, let me try this thing out. And my timing was just sheer luck. Got really lucky. But sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good. And that's what this is.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it really was phenomenal. Yeah, it's pretty. You killed it. I mean, you're still killing it.
Yeah, I'm not ever selling. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this in the room today. I know I haven't been talking a whole lot in the room because I've been trading actively, but dude, I don't like MDRs, multi-day runners, right?
No,
Small cap gaps up, and
I don't trade VRs usually.
I don't like them. Like I said in the room today, I like the day one moves. Sometimes the day two side of things offers a great opportunity, but for me personally, those have been more far and few between over the last longer than a year. Like,
man, like we were kind of talking about this too with like I feel like the people that scalp or are more into like the scalping style of trading always wind up gravitating towards the MDRs. You know what I mean? Even like that guy that number one guy on Kinpo trade spray.
yes.
Like from what I've seen, he's kind of scalping. I'm sure with like mega, just massive size.
For sure.
It's like I feel like people that scalp like that always wind up getting suckered into the high volume multi-day runner type moves, and they'll be scaling in to a short, like on the front side, just waiting for they'll cover on pullbacks. But I just don't like trading like that. I mean, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. I've just had a lot of bad things happen when I used to trade like that.
I mean, they're very tempting. They're very alluring because a lot of times these multi-day runners are up a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. So then we get mad FOMO, right? We want to hit them so bad because we know where they're going back down to. Again, it's just a matter of timing. But I suck at them, dude. Like, I'll give me the day one, obviously, the day one gappers. Day two sides, maybe. Outside of that, like, and I talked about it today in the room, like I have a first red day scanner with certain criteria, and a couple stocks hit that today, and they worked to a T. I didn't take them. But all the stuff in the middle, like, I'm not good at trading that. Every time I try, I get chopped up. A bunch of little paper cut losses here and there, and they add up, and I'm just not good at it.
Long hyperscale.
I just want to know, and again, I have a small brain. but I want to know how these scalpers can take something like INBS or Nexi, and how do you scalp that with size with those spreads?
Hmm. I just
Dude, I feel like I could get on a sim account, right? A sim account where your fills are like instant because it's a sim account, and I still couldn't scalp that successfully with spreads like that.
I couldn't either.
So I don't understand how they do that. But I'm also not going to pay somebody to go into a Discord to. I'm not going to get started on that because you know
Hey,
can't.
what's up, Corey?
Amen.
Yeah,
You know,
I
and
mean,
he's right. So he said two things today in our room. One thing he said is he cut INBS discretionary cut. He was like, "This isn't a system cut. This isn't what I normally do." You know, red flags. He cut it. And when I read what he did, I'm like, "This is exactly what I should do. I should cut it and take a tiny loss." Instead, it ballooned. And then the second thing he said is, "Why focus on shit like that when just save the mental capital for other stuff," which I also agree with. But also that's why I set range orders, because for a while, you and I and a couple other guys in the room are watching like every tick on that damn thing. And it drives you crazy, and you do expend mental capital for just, it's not worth it. So range orders for me do save lives.
yeah. Hey, Diego, what's going on, man? Thanks for hopping on.
What do you mean fantasy orders? I would love to know what you mean. Like, you talking about with the scalping stuff? I don't know what he means.
Yeah, I mean, and Diego, I mean, from what I remember, like when we traded with him in Laser's room, and
Yeah.
now too, he he kind of has a scalping style, but I mean, he's only going short.
Yeah, I get, and I'm not saying the scalping doesn't work and none of that. I just when the spreads are that when the spreads were nasty on INBS and things like Nexi. They were not good. So then, these scalpers, they're literally trying to hit market, especially in Thinkorswim, they're trying to hit these bids or asks or whatever with hotkeys. I mean, they're in and out in seconds. Like, I don't know how they do that. And I understand, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, that I can rationalize in my head with the moves. But when you're talking seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds with those spreads, that I can't wrap my head around.
Me
But
neither, man. Me neither.
I don't know. Like I said, small brain. I don't know. I mean, some of my feels on stuff with spreads, using DOS can be horrible.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
exactly. And I'm the same way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I believe it, but I also don't know much about it. So,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So, yeah, Diego, I do the same thing with shorting, but I talk about it all the time. I trade two setups. I trade, yeah. I mean, I do that for my covers and for my entries all the time. Like, I'll put limit orders. Sometimes it won't even be like a real level, as some people will call it. It'll just be what I'm estimating it to be for how I plan some of my RSI based entries, like where I think that it'll be, and I'll set limit orders, and I have like a button for just 16th size, and then and I'll use that for covers, and then I'll add in with like 16th size at different spots, limit orders. Sometimes I hit them, I'll hit, with market orders, whatever, for entries, but I do the same thing. But I don't do it I don't do it for like a scalping style. I guess you could though.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, when I think scalping, like true scalping, hyper scalp, whatever you want to call it, like they're in and out. You look at their chart on Thinkorswim, and you can't even, it's just cluttered with orders.
Exactly.
They're in and out in 2-3 seconds. And then if you're out in that fast in 2 or 3 seconds, I don't think you have time to do, I don't know. Again, I can't rationalize it. You don't have time to do fantasy orders because you're in and out so fast, so quick. you're constantly just marketing in, marketing out, maybe doing some limit orders, but with the spread like that, I don't know. Going off topic, but I just don't know how they do it, especially when you're spread. Like I know INBS today got tight sometimes, but for the most part, it never really tightened up for any extended periods of time. Not that I saw. I didn't watch it the whole day, but in the first couple hours I was watching it, and it never tightened up. And that's when the big move happened. But anyway, I don't know. Like I said, small brain, can't wrap my head around it. But if people are killing it and whatever, that's awesome. I'm not gonna pay anybody to show me how to do that though.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
me.
I don't know.
Do you have more charts?
Ah,
I used to say about CG's buddy. I used to say about CG's old buddy. We know who we're talking about. I used to say if that guy can show me how to get the fills he's getting, I would pay him whatever he wants.
yeah. How many times did you email him and DM him about that?
A lot. He never DM'd me back. Really rude. I was nothing but nice. But anyway, I'd pay $880 every 3 months to get the best fills. That's worth it. But I better get my money's worth.
Yeah. Hey, that and commissions and borrow fees in a day. Sometimes, not today.
Yeah. Well, that's anyway. You do you have more? Do you have more charts to show?
Yeah, I got a really good one, and I'll share it because a lot of people traded it. There's a few things about it that fall into the category that I wouldn't share. It was yesterday. It was my best trade of the week, I'd say. This one was pretty sick. GRI recent reverse split.
Oh yeah, this was like your 60 or 70% winner, wasn't it? This was huge.
Yeah, I swung just a little bit of it too, and covered that today for like 70%. But
that's rare on the short side to catch that type of move. Like that's the type of gains that these crazy longs be catching. And you caught it on the short side. That's a good day.
yeah, man, like I was pretty stoked about it.
Yeah.
It worked out good. I wish I wouldn't have covered so much here.
Yeah, but at that point you're up like what, 40%?
Yeah, around.
I mean,
there,
did it halt? Was that a halt resume where you covered into?
dude? So I had a. Let's see. What'd Sam say? Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. It was crazy because I've been watching this one for a few days. So I got a few orders in before the halt. Unfortunately, because I had an idea. I was going to try to short it at the prior day's VWAP. And I was thinking, I kept seeing like where the resume price was, and I was like, I should like go pull these orders or whatever. But I left them on, and it opened up and it filled me right where I put the orders in at. Unfortunately, it didn't skip me up on my fills and like on my entries, and then I was immediately down a lot. Like right here, I was like, oh man, this is going way further than I thought. And in hindsight, I could have just held through it, but I don't really do that anymore. And I covered here for like, that was a pretty decent sized loss. I just hit market and got out. And then after it failed there, I was like, oh hell, I started trying to get back in. I think it was on SSR, so it was kind of a pain, but I got back in. And then I covered a little bit there just in case, and then I added back in full here, and then I covered a lot around here. But it was
so
still,
when you covered a lot right around 1 o'clock or whatever, was that after a halt down? It almost looks like because there's a gap.
no, dude. it started getting kind of thin. I don't know why. It just like
Okay. Oh, your arrows. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
it took
But
a
either
lot.
way, I would have covered right there too. You're talking 30-40% on that 3 flush. Like, yeah, I'd have covered into that for damn sure.
Yeah, like I was hitting orders there, and I don't know why. It was like, I mean, because it wasn't like I was trying to fill a ton of shares, but it was just filling them. You know, sometimes when a bunch of the arrows stack together, it'll be black like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's when you Photoshop it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, nice, Sam.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, you covered all of it in it. Oh, whew, that's
that's
huge.
it. Hey, oh, thanks, man. I, yeah, I took, you know, a good bit off there in after hours, but I did swing a very small amount. I woke up at 3 a.m. check on it, but um,
Yep.
yeah, I'll have to work on my Photoshop skills so that it doesn't.
Here's your
Yeah,
what percent account size do you use on a position overall? Probably.
a lot. I use a
Yeah.
lot of my. I use a lot. Like, I mean, I'll use up to, depending on the trade or on the like. I'll use 100. Not on one single trade, but if there's enough plays in the day, I'll use my entire account plus leverage, all my buying power in a day. Um, I mean, there's enough plays. I've had that happen a few times last year, and I think it's happened maybe one. I don't think I've done any in January, but I mean, on something like this, I'll use like, I think I use like 40% of my account on this. I mean,
But how much
I
of
like
your
to go.
account are you risking
How much am I risking?
of your account?
Oh, of the account, I mean, probably like worst case scenario, like 5%.
That's what I thought. I mean, most of the time I risk. Well, we do it a little different, but usually 1%, 2% of my account is typically what I'll risk on a given trade, unless it's super duper nice setup. But either way.
Yeah, I mean, like,
But you're so comfortable with these type of moves. I mean, I don't blame you for hitting them a little harder.
yeah, man. I mean, there's been some times where I, lose up to like 10% of my account in a day. That's not what ideal. It's not what I want to happen. But like, these are crazy moves, and I've got it to where now I can only lose about. I think I can only lose like 10% of my account in a day
That's your max loss set.
right now. Yeah. Um.
So yeah, if another opportunity shows up, and if we have the buying power, that's why you don't go all in on one play. But sometimes, I mean, if you're out of buying power, you're out of buying power. You either gotta. I think it happened to somebody on our room today that they didn't have buying power for something, so they cut something that was just kind of chopping sideways to get into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Um.
That's where decisions
I mean
have to
that
be made.
exactly. You remember, and I had my best day ever in October last year, and I
And that
remember I
day
was
you used
texting.
all your buying power, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in with all my buying power multiple times and was having to cut other stuff to get into something that I thought was more favorable. But I think I took like 8 plays that day, and I was going big on all of them.
Yeah, sometimes it sets up. But yeah, I mean, at points like that, sometimes decisions have to be made, man. You either gotta, if you got the buying power, cool. If you don't, maybe you don't take the A plus, or maybe you cut something that's not working or that's just chopping sideways, and you move it into something that does look A plus. But
Yeah, and
I don't think that happens too often.
I don't trade with a huge account. I mean, for me, it's just there's no reason to for these type of plays, and then you always run the risk, with short selling of some kind of black. Like I have my broker max loss setting, but what if some kind of black swan situation happens like that?
That ZYJL or whatever it was.
I
Well,
mean,
you and I have talked a lot about it, and I talked with me and Zoo were going back and forth one day in comments, and I basically said that a risk parameter for me with small caps is I'll never have like a 200 $300,000 account and for just trading small caps. I just won't do it. I don't think it's worth it. One black swan move can take you out. I don't care if you have a broker max loss or not. I don't care if you have great risk management or not. All it takes is one. And then I know there's things to be said about stock selection and stuff like that. I get it. But I'm just saying, worst case scenario, yeah, I just won't have a massive account for just trading small caps. Large caps, a whole different ball game. You're not going to get these stupid, crazy offerings or these halts to from 20 to 100 or, barring any crazy circumstances. But anyway, small caps, obviously.
you can make plenty of money on 30, 40, 50K in an account. I mean, that record day for me was almost 21 grand, and I think I had like 42 in the account.
Oh yeah, you can make, yeah. Nvidia's going to 1,000, then they're going to reverse split.
Probably.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I have no clue. I'm riding it for as long as I can stomach it. It's easier for me to stomach Nvidia, honestly, than it is AMD because I just don't have as much Nvidia, but I have no idea where it's going to go. I don't think anybody. And to be fair, I'm doing well with Nvidia right now, but damn, remember when I took some big losses on Nvidia in like September, October. I kept trying to short it. Over and over. I was like, it's too extended. Kept trying to short it. Kept losing over and over and over. And I took some pretty big losses on Nvidia like September, October. And that sucked. It only took me 2 months of losing to finally go long.
I remember that.
Yeah, it sucked. It sucked really bad. But people keep doing it. People see like, all right, 500, short it. 550, short it. 600, short it. It just keeps freaking going, man. It's not stopping.
Yeah, last year, Charles, it was that day that it went like $100 off the earnings and after hours or whatever.
Yep.
And Charles longed it on the earnings and made like, I think he said he made like 18 or 20 grand on the long. He was like, oh my God. He said that he went to short it and lost 30.
I mean, all my shorts together on Nvidia, if I add all them up over the course of 2 months, I think I might be green at this point on this long, but I took some losses on Nvidia. But anyway, it just keeps going. I don't know where it's going to go. I hope it goes to 1,000 and then reverse splits, because then I will hold it forever. Let's see.
Hey, glad you made it, man. Remember last week you didn't make it in time.
Oh yeah, you made it right at the end. Do you have more? Do you have any other charts? I don't have any other charts.
So I traded that MINM.
Oh, you traded it today?
No, because I just not doing the MDRs. Like even if it's like and I don't have like I don't know if you were trying to trade it on like red day style or what, but I don't have a setup for that. I traded it off of a pair of move on like Tuesday or Wednesday. This is the trade I took on it. And didn't fade as much as I wanted. It was still a solid ass trade, man. It was good because Monday and Tuesday were losing days for me. So, I mean, my entry on this was after the reject around the $5 level. I started going in. You know how I've told you, like I've got some hotkeys and stuff. And I'll take like 16th size, like after I figure out what my position size needs to be. I'll start getting in with 16th size. Sometimes I'll overload. Like I'll have too many shares, but I mean, if you locate a couple hundred shares extra, it's not that big of a deal.
Oh yeah, and I'd rather have more than I use than to not have enough.
Yeah, I mean, in case you want to do like a little soldier ad or whatever. But I mean, I ain't gonna like. I'm not gonna be hardcore adding to a loser. I'm not gonna go locate more. Probably, because I do on my para trades. I do use so much of my account that I can't afford to let it go against me much.
Right.
Let's see.
Why don't you take a starter around the 1030 consolidation?
Uh, it didn't enter for me. It didn't. It wasn't a play for me yet. Um, I don't. I For one thing, I didn't even see it at that point.
Yeah, because our
Because it hadn't hit
scanners
my
are set
scan.
up to trigger at certain points, and if they don't trigger, we're not even
It's
gonna
got to
see
make.
it.
Yeah, it's got to make a certain uh, percentage move, and in a certain amount of time, and there's a few other parameters to it, and I won't get into it too much, but yeah, I mean, I'm very specific. I try to use my scanner as like a guide, um, and it's really like an alert, but I don't go off of it. I don't just blindly enter when my alert triggers. Uh, I wait for some kind of failure, which usually winds up with me shortening the lows like this on this pullback, but I'm always risking that previous high because I don't think there was another good spot to risk off of this.
No, but I love the way that I've told you this before. I like that you don't really get in until you have something to risk off, whether it's a lower high or a solid daily level. Like I don't know, you find somewhere to
I
create a
tried,
risk reward that's favorable.
yeah, like, and that's all it is for me is just getting some kind of R&R level. And I mean, just because I used to be one of those kind of guys that would just barrel in on the front side. I was trying to top tick everything because it looked, like what like what you just said. Do we think Morgan was profitable for all this? I don't know. I don't really know him. I I've never talked to him. Honestly, we have mutual friends and stuff. Corey that's in our room was buddies with him, and I think Buffy was. I don't know. I don't know if he likes him anymore or not. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't either. It's hard to say. You never really know who is and who isn't. What I've told a lot of people, or I think I've said on here before, if you are paying taxes due to your trading, you're in the 1%. Maybe not 1%. I mean, you're in the up. Most people aren't paying taxes on their trading. If you're paying taxes on your trading, you're doing really well. Just say that.
yeah, I've been working on my taxes today, man. I'm I'm trying to write off all of my. It's saying that I might be able to write off like all of my bills at my house since it's technically like my office. So it was like,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, the
it would be,
trickery. Yeah, you gotta finesse the numbers a bit to try to massage the pain of how much you're gonna pay in.
yeah, man, exactly. And hey,
Appreciate you, Diego.
Diego, thanks for stopping by, man. And hey, thanks for stopping by to you, Capitan. uh, but yeah, I mean, this one was good. Yeah, like I said, the taxes suck. Um, it sounds cool to be like, oh yeah, I pay taxes. I'm profitable as a trader, but and when you're actually doing it, and I had my futures stuff this year too, so that's kind of why I was getting into like a lot of that, uh, being able to write off a little bit more,
Hell
because it
yeah,
was
I'd
like,
write off every dime you could write off.
yeah, I mean, dude, I spent like on my house and stuff just on bills and like mortgage payments and all that, like something like close to 70 grand or something, and it's I mean, it's looking like I might be able to write most of that off, which will be great. to offset a lot of the profits. This is my first year getting a 1099 from Apex for the payouts. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's treated just like regular income, basically, right from what you said.
yeah, it's taxed at like 15%. So like I'd already put my other, um, I'd already like imported a lot of my broker stuff. Like it was already looking bad on what I was having to pay, and then I put that in, and I was like, oh my
Hmm.
god, it's bad, dude. I've been working on it all day.
Dude, it
'Cause-
sucks. That's what makes me want to hold Nvidia and AMD for like 2 years because then everything changes. It's not
yeah,
short
kind
term
of
anymore.
with my house, man, that we're selling right now. It's gonna be
You got to pay taxes on that.
do I?
You got to pay taxes on that when you sell your house.
I don't think I'm going to because I've been there for 6 years.
Oh,
So, and we homesteaded it, so it's like long-term capital gains. I don't. If you homestead it, if you own the home for over 2 years and you homestead it, I don't think you have to pay capital gains tax.
we weren't
So
in our last. Maybe that's why we weren't in our last house. Maybe 4 or 5 years before we sold. And anyway,
did y'all have to pay
um,
tax?
taxes suck. You get taxed on the income you make, then you got to pay sales tax, tax.
I got one more stupid, embarrassing kind of chart to
No,
show.
that's good because then I got one thing I was gonna share to lead into the next week's thing. But go ahead, show yours first.
This one, man.
Oh, the elf hat.
Yeah, dude, this one sucks, and I don't know why. I mean, I got in full size. I was like, oh, it's done. After I saw this wick, I was like, it is done. Risk high pay. I'm good.
I mean,
to
I
go.
actually like the entries.
Yeah, I mean, I I feel like the entry was good. I took a little bit too much size on it, so I think this was like Tuesday. It was either Monday or Tuesday, and whatever it was, the first 2 days of this week, I took like one of the days, like it was like either Monday or Tuesday. I just traded my like low volume setups, and I had some wins on that, but then I traded some other stuff that wasn't really favorable, and I still ended the day down like 12 or $1,400. And I was like, damn, man, and I had lost a good bit on this one, and just what I wasn't feeling too great the first couple of days this week, but I ended pretty strong. Um,
Yeah, I told somebody in the room today posted their top tick exit, and I was like, the only top ticks I get are my exits on a loss.
you've been at home for 2 years, the last 5 years. Yes, I mean, we lived there for right at 6 years, so I think I'm good on that one. Um, yeah, it was tricky, and I didn't think it was going to do that, like and then after it did that, I was like, okay, let me try to find another entry. Like,
Oh, Sam did.
ah, good job, Sam. Good job. I figured you did, and I don't mind missing some, but this one kind of pissed me off. I feel like it was like the only trade I took that day, but I'm doing my future stuff too, which I don't talk a whole lot about, but
Yet.
yeah, I had like a super consistent week. I'm up like almost 15 grand on the week, um, in total on futures. It's not the most I've made in a week, because I had a day where I made like 11 or 12 grand one day, but I've also lost a lot. Um, yeah, it was a really solid week on futures.
Um, I mean, we can answer this. I guess the thing is, yeah, it took us both some years, but then I don't know how to. I know you started in what, like 2016 ish or something,
I'm gonna say 2017.
and then it took you a couple, some years, 2 3 years to find like steady profitability in a sense.
I mean, there was points where I was profitable for like, profitable enough to be wiring out money and paying bills with it and attempting to trade full time, and then having like a big blow up loss or just something happened, some kind of substantial event that put me right back to where it's like, then I had to go back to work. And, you know, it's different for everybody, I mean, especially now because I did really good in 2020 and 2021. Like I was up six figures, but I blew a lot of the money and then I ended up losing a good bit. So I don't know, man. It's hard to say.
No, that I'm glad you said that because I started a long time. I started literally during the financial crash, like in 2008. So my timing was absolutely horrible. So I started and was doing what I thought was okay, but it was all large cap back then. Small cap market didn't exist. If you would have talked about small caps when I was at Wells Fargo, they'd have laughed you out of the building. So that wasn't a thing. And then the financial collapse happened, and then I didn't trade for some years because financial collapse markets. I wasn't looking at the markets. I was trying to find a job. And then I found some success, like again in like 2012, 13, mainly with large caps. But large caps, I never could really day trade them with any real success. Anyway, whatever. Long story short, I went through periods of profitability, like with OTCs. Like 2019 was one of my best years ever. That was with OTCs, mainly on the long side. But then OTCs markets just dried up, and then I had to really start going into small caps more than I had been, and it was some roller coaster ish stuff. And then basically, I'm not getting that. This year wasn't as good as years past. So people act like when you become profitable, like it's just a steady, just uphill curve for infinity, and I don't think that's always the case.
Yeah, I mean, because I even had some periods last year where I was like really down on myself. Like I was having losing streaks, and last year was my most consistent year ever, and it still was like I still didn't. I don't know if you ever feel like you're. I mean, you might be profitable, but it's sort of like there's that mental aspect. It's like I don't know if you ever feel really like you're there.
No, yeah, like there's a guy in our room. I know we're already over an hour. There's one other thing I was going to touch on, but there's a guy in our room that was asking about, what does it take to go full time? I'm here. I'm making this. My bills are this, and dude, that's such a hard question to answer. Like, I don't recommend anybody, and it's hard to say because we've said this all the time. We joke, right? If we were single and lived by ourselves, right, it'd be a whole different ballgame. But we got kids, a mortgage, a family, So if I'm strictly gonna rely on just small cap day trading income to pay the bills, I don't think I'd ever feel comfortable. So having other things you get into, whether it's large caps or longer term investing or passive stuff or whatever, or a job, I mean, people act like if you have a job, if you have a 9 to 5 or any type of job, like, oh, you're a failure because you're not day trading full time. Like, damn that. I think most people that are trying to get into trading are probably working, and having two sources of income, especially to build up a buffer, I think is super key. Because that guy that was in our room asking that question, I'm like, dude, if you're trying to rely on just small cap trading and you haven't really hit any sort of existential profitability, like, I think you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I mean, just because you're just putting so much pressure on yourself.
Yes.
I say this all the time, like, it's so much easier to make money when you're not coming in every day like, all right, I got to make money. Like,
yes.
When I first attempted to go full time, it was in a period when it was probably not the right time. It was like I had made a bunch and then I'd lost a bunch, and I was trying to every day. I'm coming in trying to make money. I remember one day it was like 9 a.m. and I was already down $7 grand, and I was like, holy shit, like I'm in trouble. I was going and working in the coal mines that weekend, I mean, literally, and is just it's so. But one thing I'll say that makes trading easier and makes it easier to do well is, for me at least, get rid of as many expenses as you can. If you really want to go full time, or even if you don't want to go full time and you just want it to be easier, like we sold our house, but we actually inherited a house from my wife's grandmother. So selling the house, we're not gonna have a mortgage anymore.
You lucky SOB.
Yeah, like it's gonna make it. I've already had some things happen in the past 2 years that have made trading easier, but that makes it even that much easier. So I'm just paying utilities, you know. But I have 2 kids and a wife. My wife doesn't work. My wife hasn't worked in 4 years, you know, but I'm able to. I mean, and I have a couple sources of income, and I'm always doing stuff on the side. You don't have to, just trade and say, all right, I'm just going to trade and that's it, nothing else, like.
Yeah. Plus, me personally, I don't think I could sit here 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, every single day at these screens and not go crazy. It's just, I'm just not, I don't have it in me.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, Charles, he used to do that. Like he lives right down the road from me now. And he would just sit there all day. I mean, and he could just keep his hands to himself. He would not overtrade. I don't know. He's got really good patience, but I don't. I'll wind up doing something dumb.
Well, I like to go outside and do. I like to be active. I think it's dependent on you, right? Whether you want to go to office with other people or trade solo. I think whatever works for you. Some people swear by both. Me and sellers have said numerous times, if we live close to each other, dude, we would trade together every day. Because we're a little bit more social. But some dudes are completely okay with just being like in a room by themselves and talking to nobody, and they're cool with that.
I like. It's hard for me to multitask, like talk in our Discord in the mornings when I'm trying to like prepare or if I'm in a trade. But if I was like sitting next to Craig or whatever, it would be cool. It would kind of be like holding each other accountable, not do dumb shit. I mean, I feel like it'd be hard to like if you didn't have a brother Max or something. Just blow the hell up if you've got your buddy right over your shoulder. Like I used to hear people say trade like somebody's watching over your shoulder, and that's what I try to do. It's part of the reason why I post a lot of stuff on Twitter. But
that accountability.
Exactly.
We don't have any boot camp style thing. We have other YouTube videos. You can hit us up on Twitter. We try to be helpful and not put out just complete bullshit.
Oh, dude, yeah, we're not selling anything, man.
Yeah, we got a Discord room with some people in it, really good traders. Anyway, hit us up on Twitter. We can either get you more info, whatever. I've never taught anybody one-on-one. Yeah. That's a lie. I will teach people, especially friends of mine. I've tried to show many friends of mine, but I've never been like, yeah, quit your job.
Yeah, hell no, man.
I'll never say that.
Anybody asked me, like, man, you think I could? I had a buddy he owns his own business. I mean, and he's clearing 6 figures a year. He's got like a mobile detailing service. He's like, man, I've got 30 or 40 grand. He knew about the PDT rule and stuff. He's like, I want to get into this trading that you're doing, because he knows I do it now. And he's like, do you think I was going to put 30 or 40 grand into an account? You think you could show me how to trade? I was like, do not do that shit. I was like, do not put 30. I was like, you will lose it. Because I've done that, I was like, man, just get you a small account, start messing with it. It is addictive.
Yeah, and if you don't have PDT, like I know PDT, we talk about how bad it sucks, but as a new trader, you can death by 1,000 paper cuts real quick if you don't have PDT.
Oh yeah, I mean, unless you've just got the discipline of, I don't even know, you're not. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, as far as being weary on teaching friends, I'm not weary. I just, what I've found, and from most of the people that I know, the few people that have come over and sat down with me, aside from the people like Brady, he comes down sometimes from Indiana and hangs out with me in my little office. we'll shoot the shit. But he's been trading for a long time, you know, like.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think of people that actually, and you know, Charles, we shoot the shit. He's been trading a long time. But I've had a few friends like that I've worked with in the past or whatever that, and even one of my brothers that have come and been like, "Hey man, you want to?" Like I sat down with them in my office and we talked trading. I tried to show them stuff. I just feel like nobody's ever really. They don't realize how much work it's going to be. So they're like, "Oh man!" After I explain it to them, they just kind of they lose interest.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and I think there's two main things that I've had people get scared off by. It's like the amount of work you gotta put in to really find edge and gain the psychology piece, but two, you have to be okay with losing. And, like, most of us through our lives are taught not to do that, right? So losing is completely detrimental. I played sports my whole life. I hate losing. But with trading, obviously, I can't have that mentality. It's hard to break people that mentality. So it's like most of the people I've
Yes,
seen get into trading tend to they will get into a trade, cut it, get right back in, cut it, get right back in again, cut it, because they don't want to be wrong. So it's tough, man. Uh, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard, and I think the timeline for some people could be 3 years, 2 years, 5 years. It's a lot. All right,
really.
we're well over an hour. So,
Oh, and I was gonna say, T Miller, I appreciate you saying that, dude. I'm not the future's goat, but I have found some consistency.
all right. So one thing I was gonna just real quick, bring up, right? Like a leader into next week, because next week we're gonna try to do something different. Edge erosion has been a hot topic on Twitter lately. We have differing opinions to some degree. So what we want to do is potentially go in depth about that. Ideally, maybe with a third party. So if somebody is interested in that, let us know because I would like to talk about it.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
you.
Roman. Yeah, thanks for checking in, and you know, just come check. You know, you can rewatch it or whatever, and we can chat about it in the room. I was just going to throw this out there to anybody that's watching that hasn't already heard or seen. You know, what I always say, I appreciate people tuning in, and we don't advertise our Discord room. Um, you know, we don't just put it out there. We did have it open to where just anybody could just join, but we started getting some like spam people and some fake people coming in. So you've got to be invited, but just hit us up. It's free. We don't sell anything. We, you know,
We just shoot the
all our,
shit and try to like add some collective information because there's some good traders in that room. Like,
there's
good.
some like really good traders in that room. Like
Yeah.
big, like, I mean, there's some big 7-figure traders in there. A lot of 6-figure traders. It's, you know, it doesn't matter. That
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean
really,
it's all relative, but a lot of information can be shared in there. I'll say that. But
yeah.
yes, next week we
At some
want to
point,
focus on some edge erosion chit chat because there's been a lot of talk about it. You and I have differing opinions. Anyway, we'd like to get a third party. If somebody's interested, hit us up. But I'm putting this up, and this is in no shape, way, or form a promo for Flash Research, a hit on Flash Research. My personal opinion of Flash Research is they're great. Number one, their program is awesome. I think they are a great tool. So I'm only putting this up, and I know that obviously. Anyway, all right, let me just read it. And you guys can obviously read it, but it's just they're talking about certain things that's happening, right? Stocks that gapped up more than 50%, they were over a buck. They fell below VWAP after the first 15 minutes of the session. Tiny stop at 7%, yada, yada, yada. And they're putting out what that would look like if you just followed that and did that, right? So if a million people read that and a million people start doing that on stocks that have less than a million float, like what happens to that edge? and I'm just throwing out stupid raw numbers, right? Like, but
That's a really good point, man.
yeah, so they put that out, and they're not putting that out with the intent of like, "Oh, do this, you're gonna make money." They're just putting it out to show what their back testing tool, which I think is out now and seems to be really great. Like I said, Flash Research is a great tool. Um,
I've
but
never
it
used. I've looked into
yeah, I
one.
used them for 1 month just to try them out, and, I mean, I liked it. Good tool, but, so you put this out on Twitter, right? Or you put, we joke all the time, the opening print boys, right? They short the opening print within certain criteria. If you start advertising and putting that stuff out on Twitter for thousands of people to see, like, what happens to that edge, right? Is edge erosion real? Is it in our heads? Is it a moment in time where it fades and then comes back? Like, what happens? So that's what we wanted to talk about. And I know there's a lot of different criteria when you talk about the float and liquidity and whatever, but I want to talk about edge erosion next week because I think that is a real thing, especially as the small cap market liquidity does wane a little bit, could become problematic. So that's what we're gonna do next week. Change it up a little bit, and yeah, yeah. I guess it's just what if it's we talk about this a lot too. Is a value add, right? Like we pay for trade ideas every month, and I think it's like $100 a month, give or take.
Mhm.
It's worth every dime. It
Yeah, I
just
mean,
depends
I
what.
spent quite a bit. That's another thing I was able to write off on taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey,
Wilson. Oh
just
yeah, if you send us a request, yeah, we can. Yeah, yeah, and you're on Twitter. Just DM us on Twitter. Flash research. I don't remember. $100, give or take, maybe a little more.
I want to say it was like 150.
Yeah, it just depends what you need.
I mean,
We're big on shorting day one gappers, so to have all that extra information on the day one gappers, what they've done historically for us is pretty huge. But it just depends what you're trading. If you're not trading day one gappers, yeah, you don't need that at all. It just
yeah,
depends
I
what
mean,
you do.
yeah, if you, I mean, I feel like having something like Flash Sec, not Flash Research, but Flash Sec or Dilution Tracker, which is really important. That's something that I like to have.
Yeah, I use
Just
FlashSec every day. I got a hotkey for it on my Stream Deck. I have a button for I need to delete the button because now there's a hotkey you can put on a DOS. But anyway, FlashSec, I use it every day, and I'd feel naked trading without it at this point, and I pay for that every month. But you know,
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
All right,
Uh,
we're well over an hour. We should. Uh, yeah, man, you too. I thought it was another question. I was like, oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
if anybody's got any more questions, we're about to sign out, I guess. And we appreciate all you guys tuning in. I'm glad the Twitter thing worked this time. We'll be doing that moving forward every week.
Yeah, old StreamYard linked up with Twitter.
That's right.
Twitter. Oh, Elon coming through. Look at him.
That's right. Yeah, and if anybody has any suggestions or stuff they'd like to see on here, then just DM us.
Yeah, DM us, comment. We try to go through the YouTube stuff in what's that systematic versus like what are we? We're a combo.
Yeah,
That's
I
what you
can
mean.
call myself a combo. I mean, I'm very discretionary with my entries on stocks, but my I guess my setups are pretty systematic, I'd say. And
Yeah, like
my cover targets on when I take trades are pretty systematic, I'd say.
yeah, I love data. I love Excel. That's another thing. I mean, I think it's like $60 a year for Microsoft package for it's pretty cheap, but I love Excel. I do manual data collection a lot. I also use Spikeheat some, but I like to manually collect data and mess around with numbers and things like that in Excel to create some systematic type of things. But yes, it's a combo with systematic and discretionary. I could never be solely systematic. So annoying, bro. I mean, again, it's whatever works. It's whatever works. If there's some system guys that can truly take the emotion out of it and just follow a system. Like some guy. All right, last thing I'm gonna say. A guy put in our room today. He knows of some profitable systematic traders that the algos do everything for them. And I'm like, that's interesting. Are they profitable because their systems are run by a non-human? No feeling, strictly run by a machine. And then the guys, he's like, I don't know anybody that's systematically successful that does it on their own. So interesting take there. And I love to read. I've read like all the market masters books, and in all those books, there's not, I don't think, one profitable. In those books are talking about the best of the best, but I don't think those books contain a systematic trader that trade just solely off of a data point. Chris Camillo, however you say his name, was maybe the exception, but he traded off of like social sentiment. He created his own tool based on social sentiment. It wasn't like a true, I don't know, it's a whole nother thing, but
sorry to hear that, man.
it wrecked us too. It's okay. It wrecked a lot of shorts. It sucked. It was an earnings winner. It held VWAP. It bounced off of a key level. Kept setting lower highs. The late day VWAP consolidation. Low float. Highest volume day. A lot of red flags. We shorted it anyway. We lost. Serves us right. But a lot of red flags.
You got to, right?
I mean, yeah, we took a shot, but it was bad. It was a tough one. A lot of red flags on that.
I lost a little more than I was planning, and it, kind of ruined my day. But I mean, as far as like P&L wise, but my thoughts on it though, it's not going to be a play for me after today. Unless if it hit my Paris scan on Monday, I would trade it, but it's not I don't trade multi-day runners if it holds up,
Yeah, it was a tough one, man. All right, hour and 20 minutes. We answered a lot of questions, so hopefully it was helpful. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all's time. Glad the Twitter thing worked. That's cool as shit.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty awesome. All right, we're gonna do this next week. Same type of time, all that good stuff, but focus more on edge erosion. Might share some charts. We got to put out content eventually, like pre-recorded, if that's a word. Record some stuff, put it out. We're eventually gonna do that. We've been slacking on the YouTube.
We're probably gonna do it this weekend. I think.
Yes, we are, because next weekend is Super Bowl. Can't do it then.
That's right.
I'm not even gonna get into the football thing, but I'm really mad that the Lions lost. I'm so fucking pissed. Man, I was really upset about that. I was hungover on Monday so bad. I was so mad. Whew. Okay. All right.
Thank you for tuning in, brother.
Yeah, man. God. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all y'all. The comments. Hit us up we're on Twitter. Obviously, you can comment in here. We'll see them. If you have questions, hit us up on Twitter. Certain things you want to see, whatever. The room invite, all that good stuff. I think we're good, right? We're good?
Yep, we're good.
All right, we're out. Peace.
Peace.